President, please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber hears the testimony of a witness to TCW 887. We also wish to inform the parties that this witness requires the support of a TPO staff during the testimony, and the chamber agrees to the request. And Wizard is responsible for coordinating the TPO staff. Mr. Ji Si Huang, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals at today's proceedings. Grazie, Mr. President. For today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Nunchi is present in the holding cell in the waiting room downstairs as he waves his direct presence in the courtroom. His waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness who is to testify today, that is to TCW 887, confirms that through his knowledge he has no relationship by blood or by law to any of the two accused. There is no Chi and Kyo Sampon or to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. The witness took an oath before the Iron Club statute this morning, and there is no reserved witness today. President, thank you, and the chamber now decides on the request by Nuon Chea. The chamber has received a waiver from Nuon Chea dated 4 June 2015, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to participate in and be present at the 4 June 2015 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nuon Chea by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 4 June 2015, who notes that Nuon Chea has a chronic back pain when he sits for long and dizziness when he moves, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nuon Chea his request to follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs, via and audio visual means. The AV unit personnel are instructed to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nuon Chea can follow the proceedings remotely. That applies for the whole day. Court officer, please usher the witness as well as the TPL staff into the courtroom. President. Good morning, Madam Witness. What is your name? Witness, my name is Su Seun. President, thank you, Madam Su Seun. When were you born? Answer, I cannot recall it. Question, how old are you this year? Answer, I am 79 years old. Question, when were you born? Answer, I was born in Chuk Sach village, Chuk Sach commune, Barai district, Kampong Thom province. Question, where is your current address? Answer, currently I lived in An Long Veng, commune An Long Veng district. Question, what is your current occupation? Answer, I don't have any job at the moment. Question, what are the names of your parents? Answer, my father is Lum Saib and my mother is Dut Tu. Question, what is your husband's name and how many children do you have? Answer, my husband is Kai Po. We have 6 children. President, thank you, Madam Su Seun. The greffier made an oral report that, to your best knowledge, you are not related by blood or by law to any of the 2 accused, that is Nuon Chi and Kee Sampon, or any of the civil parties admitted in this case. Is the information accurate? Answer, I am not related to any of them. Question, the greffier also said that you already took an oath before your appearance this morning. Is that true? Answer, yes. President, the Chamber now would like to inform you of your rights and obligations as a witness. Madam Su Seun, as a witness in the proceedings before Chamber, you may refuse to respond to any question or to make any comment which may incriminate you, and that is your right against self-incrimination. And this means that you may refuse to provide your response or make any comments that could lead you to being prosecuted. And Madam Su Seun, now on to your obligations. As a witness in the proceedings before the Chamber, you may respond to any questions by the bench or relevant parties, except where your response or comments to those questions may incriminate you, as the Chamber has just informed you of your right as a witness. Also, as a witness, you must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, experienced, or observed directly in relation to any event or circumstance relevant to the question that the bench or parties pose to you. And Madam Su Seun, have you been interviewed by investigators of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges? If so, how many times, when, and where? Answer, I was interviewed once at An Long Veng. question. And before you entered the courtroom, have you reviewed your written records of your statement, or do you have it read out aloud to you in order to refresh your memory? Answer. I asked my younger sibling to read it aloud to me. Question. And to your best knowledge, does the written record of your interview reflect the statements you made before the OCIJ investigators at On Lung Weng? Answer. Now I tend to forget a lot, and in the past I can recall a lot of things. President, this is not what I meant. After you have your written record of interview read aloud to you by your younger sibling, that is regarding your interview at On Lung Weng, does that written record reflect what you spoke to the investigators at the time? Answer. Yes, it reflects what I said, but now I tend to forget a lot. President, pursuant to Rule 91b of the ECCC internal rule, the Chamber gives the floor to the co-prosecutors first to put question to this witness, and the combined time for the co-prosecutors and the lead co-lawyers for civil party is 3 sessions, and the co-prosecutor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors, Counsel, Madam Witness. I'll be putting questions to you this morning. My name is Dale Lysak. I'm one of the prosecutors at the court. I want to start with some questions about your and your husband's background. You stated in your OCIJ interview, document E3 5294, that you were married to your husband, Kai Pok, when you were 22 years old. By my calculation, if you're 79 today, you were born around 1936, which would mean that you were married to your husband around 1958. Is that correct? Do you remember the year when you and Kai Pak were married?
Allow me to respond. I had a child in 1962, and that was 3 years after our marriage.
Thank you. Can you tell us where you and Kai Pak lived after you were married? And also, can you tell us whether he was already part of the revolution at the time you were married?
No, he did not at the time, as he was still engaged in rice farming.
And where was it that you and your husband lived after you were married in 1959?
I live in Chuk Ksat, that is in Barai district, Kampong Thom province.
Madam Witness, your husband gave an interview before his death, which I'm going to read to you from time to time today to see if that helps refresh your recollection on some matters. That interview is document E3/2782, also E3/2783, just so the parties are aware that the same interview is in two different documents, and the French translation is only in the second document. That's why I'll be referring to both E3 numbers. The year-end reference I would like to read to you is at English 000-89708, Khmer 000-95547, and French 00596-203. In this interview, Kai Pak, your husband, starts by describing his background as follows, quote, I joined the struggle since 1949 in the Khmer Historic period. After the Geneva Convention, I abandoned the struggle and returned home. In 1957, Su Heng, the secretary of the party, contacted me and told me to rejoin the struggle. I did so and enlisted into the party in Svai Tep sub-district, Chamkar-Lu district. Continuing in the next paragraph. In 1958, after I became a member of the party, they assigned me to conduct some activities in Chamkar-Lu district, my birthplace. End of quote. Let me ask you just a couple of things here. First of all, is it correct that your husband came from Chamkar-Lu district?
I am not sure on this point, and I did not know when he joined the revolution.
Do you remember whether you moved to Chamkar-Lu district at some point after you and Kai Pak were married?
After our marriage, we went to live in Brekmih village, Chamkar-Lu, Chamkar-Nong district.
The next page of your husband's interview, he describes some events from the 1960s relating to the Communist Party of Kampuchea. And he states, quote, in mid-1967, the Zone Committee was composed of Khoi Tun as secretary, and I, the deputy secretary, and Dun Sreng Bra Tong and Samat as members. At that time, Brother Nguyen was away to Prechor to assign forces. In 1968, I began working in the jungle. End of quote. First question, did you go with your husband to the jungle in 1968, or did you and your children live somewhere else at that time?
At that time, I did not stay with him. We lived separately since 1967.
The statement from your husband that I just read refers to Brother Noon organizing or assigning forces in Prechor district. Did you know Noon Chea during this time period? And do you remember the first time that you met Noon Chea?
At that time, I did not know him yet, and I got to know him only when I was in Phnom Penh.
And when was it that you lived in Phnom Penh? And could you tell us about how you got to know Noon Chea when you were living in Phnom Penh?
That was the time that I came to earn a living in Phnom Penh, and I was called to be a cook, and I apologize if I cannot recall the details of the event.
You stated in the first answer of your OCIJ interview, E3 5294, that you joined the revolution in 1969 while you were living in Phnom Penh. Can you tell us whether it was in connection with joining the revolution in Phnom Penh that you first met Noon Chea?
At that time, I was called to be a cook, and that was the time I got to know him. I met him, and of course they discussed about the work, but I did not understand about the nature of the work, so I started to become a cook for them.
And could you tell us, you were cooking for Noon Chea and other people? Can you tell us who it was that you were cooking for at that time?
I did not see him. I cooked in the kitchen, and it was someone else who took the food to him.
In the same answer, your first answer of your OCIJ interview, you describe how you left Phnom Penh with your daughter to join the Maquis in October 1970, and how you were taken to a location in the deep forest near the Stung Chinit River where you met your husband. The location where you met your husband near the Chinit River, was this a location where a number of party leaders were located? Was this a headquarters or base of the party?
It was a military headquarters, and I did not see any senior leaders there. I only saw military commander.
Who were the military commanders who were at that location?
It related to the work of my husband.
And can you tell us a little bit about what the role or work of your husband was at the time you joined him in the Maquis?
At that time, his position was simply a cadre.
When you went to live in the forest in 1970, did your son, Kapik Vanak, did he live in the same location as you?
Yes. Initially, my son lived in Kampong Cham, and I went to that location along with my daughter.
I want to read to you an excerpt from the interview of your son. It's document E3/35 at Khmer 00340 560 through 61, English 00346 147, French 00367 718 through 719. And this is part of his first answer in his OCIJ interview. He testified that between 1970 and 1973, he lived at a site in Stung Trong district, Kampong Cham. That was the party center headquarters. That during the day, he was taught by Pol Pot's wife, Q Ponery, who he called Grand Aunt Ree, and that at night he would give massages to Pol Pot, who he referred to as Grand Uncle Sar, alias Grand Uncle Pol. My question for you, Madam Witness, did you have regular contact with Pol Pot and his wife, like your son, during the 1970 to 73 time period?
Personally, I was not close to them. Although we stayed in the forest together, I was not close to him, and I did not know how close my son was to them.
Did you see Pol Pot and his wife from time to time during those years?
Answer. I met them when I was living in the forest. I met them sometime, and they were referred as Bong. When I was allowed to go and meet them, I could go to see them, although we lived in the same forest.
In his OCIJ interview, again at Khmer 00340 561, English 00346 148, French 00367 719. Your son testified that he also saw a Q Sempan at the party headquarters in the forest. when he lived there between 1970 and 1973. He referred to Khieu Samphan as Grand Uncle Ham. My question for you, did you also see Khieu Samphan at that location during those years?
Answer. It appears that I did not meet him. As I stated, my son was living in a separate place, so if he met, I did not know about that. I may have met him or those people once in a while.
Do you remember, Madam Witness, the first time that you met Khieu Samphan?
Answer. I do not recall it. I do not recall when I met him and where I met him.
I want to move now to the period beginning in 17 April 1975. And I first want to ask you about what your husband's, read you an excerpt from your husband's interview. This is again E3 2782 and 2783. ERN references Khmer 000-95550 through 51, English 000-89711 through 712, and French 00596-208. And in this document, your husband states that after 17 April 1975, he became the secretary of what was then the North Zone and what would later become the Central Zone. And he also states that Khoi Tun, who had been the secretary of the zone, was transferred to Phnom Penh to the Ministry of Commerce. My question for you, did your husband ever tell you why he was promoted to zone secretary and Khoi Tun was sent to the Ministry of Commerce after the 17th of April, 1975?
Answer. What I knew is that my husband became the zone secretary, and I did not know about the arrangement of his position. As I stated, as a female, I was not allowed to know the affairs in detail.
Do you remember how you first learned that your husband had been appointed the North Zone secretary?
Answer. I do not know. From that time onwards, I heard people addressed him as such. I asked him about that, and my husband told me that I had to mind my own business, and others, they care their own business already.
I now want want to go through the positions that you held in the party through the Democratic Kampuchea regime. In your OCIJ interview, E3/5294 at Khmer 00348-827, English 00360-111, French 00367-803. You state that you were initially a village chief during the 1970 to 75 period, and that at the start of the Khmer Rouge regime, quote, when Phnom Penh was liberated, I stayed at Prek Prasap district of Kampong Cham. At that time, they made me a member of the Prek Prasap district committee, and I was put in charge of receiving evacuees from Phnom Penh. End of quote. Madam Witness, during that time period, was Prek Prasap district part of Sector 42 of the North Zone?
Answer: I could not have the graphs of the information. Perhaps it was under that. Perhaps it was the same as what you stated, but I do not remember it. President, Deputy Deputy Co-Prosecutor of the National Side, please verify the name. I heard that the name was mentioned as Pre Prasad, but actually there was no Pre Prasad, there was only Pre Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me clarify. Perhaps I mispronunciate. Was the name of the district that you were appointed to in after April 1975 Pre Prasap?
Answer: yes, it was Pre Prasap.
Let me see if I can refresh your recollection on this. This is another excerpt from your husband's interview, E3 2782 and 2783 at Khmer 0095551, English 0089713, French 00596-210. Your husband gave a description here of the structure of the Central or Old North Zone. He stated it was divided into three regions, regions 41, 42, and 43. And in regards to Region 42, he said it consisted of Tang Kork, Baray, Stung Trong, Chamkar Lu, and Pre Prasap districts. Does that refresh your recollection, Madam Witness, that there were 5 districts that formed Sector 42, including both Pre Prasap and Chamkar Lu?
Answer: I do not recall it. I remembered that Pre Prasap and Chamkar were within that sector. I may have remembered that before, but I do not recall it now.
Fair enough. Going back to the history of your positions, in your interview, OCIJ interview E35294, you say that you lived in Prasap district for approximately half a year, at which time you were sent to Chamkar-Lu district and nominated on the Chamkar-Lu district committee in charge of women. Do I understand correctly that it would have been in the latter part of 1975, half a year after 17 April 1975, that you moved to Chamkar-Lu district and became a member of that district committee?
Answer. It is correct. I stayed in Prasap district for half a year and I was transferred to Chamkar-Lu district after that time. I worked in Chamkar-Lu for 1 year. At that time I was a member of the district committee. There was only one female. That was me at that time.
And in regards to your assignment to Chamkar-Lu district, you stated, quote, I was appointed by the sector secretary. Toll was the sector secretary. My question, Madam Witness, the person you identify as the sector secretary, Toll, was he a cousin of your husband?
Answer. No. He was not related to my husband. He was living in the same province of my husband's. He and my husband were not related.
How long had you known the sector secretary, Toll? How long had you and your husband known him?
Answer. I only came to know him when he became the chief of the sector. And as for my husband, I did not know when my husband knew this individual.
Thank you. You identify in your interview another person who was also on the Chamkar-Lu district committee by the name of Ban. Can you tell us who Ban was?
Answer. Ban was a villager. He lived close to a river area and he was put in the committee. It was that time that I came to know this person.
There is a person named Ban who has testified that he was on the Chamkar-Lu district committee and that he was an in-law of yours, the husband of one of your cousins. Was this the same Ban who you were referring to, the person who is an in-law of yours and who married one of your cousins?
No. He was a villager and he was living close to a river area, and he was not related by blood or by law with my family.
Mr. President, with your leave, at this time I'd like to provide the witness statement of the individual I'm referring to. It's document E319/19.3.86. Let me repeat, E319/19.3.86. I will not say the full name of this person because he is a proposed trial witness to TCW 950. He's someone who indicates in his statement that he is an in-law of the witness and that who served on the Chamkarlu District Committee. I'd like to show the statement to the witness.
President, I have been informed that the witness is illiterate. She could not read and write.
May I ask whether, if she's unable to read the names, that perhaps the TPO person could assist her in order to see if she can identify this person?
President, yes, you may do so. Court officer, please work on that matter. You could whisper to the witness, court officer.
Madam Witness, I don't want you to read the name of this person, the full name of this person out loud. I can tell you that this person also used a number of aliases, revolutionary aliases, one of which was Pos and another Ho. Do you remember a person named Pos or Ho who served with you on the Chamkarlu District Committee and who was an in-law of yours, someone who married one of your cousins?
Answer. First, I heard the question about Taban, but now the name Pos was mentioned to me. I knew this individual's name, and we were related.
And is Pos someone who at some point served with you on the Chamkarlu District Committee?
Answer. I do not remember it. I remembered that Ban was working with me, and for the remainders of my colleagues, I do not recall them.
Let me ask you a general question about Chamkarlu District. Do you remember approximately how many people lived in that district during the Democratic Kampuchea period?
Answer. You mean the population or you mean the members of the committee?
I mean the population. What was the population of Chamkar Lu district?
Answer. I could not have the full graph of the information because I was not literate at that time. Everything depended on the district secretary. I did not take note of the population of that district.
Well, let's talk about your position. You've testified that in late 1975 you became a member of the Chamkar Lu District Committee. Did you later become the secretary of that district, Chamkar Lu?
Answer. I remain a member of that committee. As I stated earlier, I was the member of that committee for 1 year. Later on, I delivered a baby and I was sick. I was in charge of female workers who worked at the dam site, but I was not with my workers constantly.
Madam Witness, I must tell you that a number of cadres close to you have testified that in late 1977 you became the secretary of Chamkar Lu District. Let me read to you one of those references, and it comes from the document I just provided you, the testimony of your in-law, Ban or Pos. In answer 10 of his OCIJ interview E319/19.3.86, he testified as follows, quote, Su Sun was appointed Chamkar Lu District Secretary later, perhaps in late 1977. At that time, Un removed me from my position as the Sector 42 Commerce Chairman and appointed me as deputy to Su Sun. End of quote. He has said the same thing in a number of interviews. Madam Witness, does this refresh your memory that you became the secretary of Chamkar Lu District in late 1977 and that Pos served as your deputy at that time?
Answer. I do not recall it well because I was not working with them. I may have forgotten it because it has been a long time ago and my memory is being weak from days to day.
In the quote I just read, your in-law, Bon or Pos, referred to Un, a person named Un, who was the Sector 42 secretary after Toll. Was Un your biological brother, And is it correct that he became sector secretary in 1977 after Toll?
Answer. Ewan was my younger sibling. He was my biological brother. He was appointed the secretary of that sector that year. As I stated, I was working in that district for a brief period of time, and because of my memory, I could not recall it all.
Madam Witness, do you remember a cadre named Chim who came from Takeo in the Southwest Zone and who was brought to the North Zone in 1977 and appointed chairman of the Chamkar Andung rubber plantation that was located in your district, Chamkar Lu? Do you remember Chim, this person who was brought in to be the head of the rubber plantation that was located in your district?
Answer, I do not recall it. I do not remember all even my relatives and cousins, and how could I remember other people, and I did not know about the arrangement of the position for that particular individual.
Let me turn to some questions relating to the first January dam, Madam Witness. And I'm going to start with your son, Kapik Vinak's OCIJ interview, E3/35 at Khmer 00340-563, English 00346-149, French 00367-721. He describes how in 1976 he was sent to study in Phnom Penh with a person named Pek Soka and another person he called Uncle Chai, alias Cham. Did you know these two people that your son studied with in Phnom Penh, named Cham and Pek Soka?
Answer. I know the two individuals, but they all deceased.
Who was Cham?
Answer. Cham was the guy who worked with my husband.
Is Cham someone who worked for your husband during the entire Democratic Kampuchea regime?
Answer. He is deceased.
I understand that he is deceased. My question to you is he someone who was close to your husband and worked with him throughout the entire Khmer Rouge regime?
Yes.
And did Cham have a role in supervising the construction of the first January dam?
Answer. For this matter, I do not know. Cham was working for my husband. He was with my husband all the time, so I did not know about their business. I am stating the truth. I will not tell anything that I do not know.
Continuing in your son's OCIJ interview on the same pages of E335, this is what he testified that he did after he returned from his studies in Phnom Penh. Quote, question, after you finished your study, what did they have you do? Answer, I returned to Kampong Cham and accompanied my father to prepare a plan to build the first January dam. Question, in what year did they begin building the first January dam? Answer, the plan was developed since mid-1976. End of quote. My question for you, Madam Witness, do you know whether your husband had communications with and needed to obtain the approval of the party leaders in Phnom Penh in regards to the plan to build the first January dam?
Answer. I do not know about when the construction of the dams started and how long the construction lasted, as I was a female cadre. As I stated earlier, I was not with my workers constantly at that time. That is why I stated I do not know about this matter.
Let me ask you a general question about your husband. How often would he go to Phnom Penh for meetings?
Answer. I sometimes knew about his trips, and as I said, I live in Chomkale and he was in Kampong Cham. When I went to see him, I would know about his business. I would know when he went to the meeting sometime, and as I told the court already, I sometimes did not meet him, up for a period of 3 months.
Did you ever accompany your husband on any of his trips to Phnom Penh?
Answer. I never accompanied him to Phnom Penh. I went with other female cadres, and as I stated, I never went with him to Phnom Penh.
I just want to clarify that last response. I'm not sure whether this was translation. Are you saying that you went to Phnom Penh once with a group of female cadres? Did I understand you correctly?
Answer. I went with female cadres, and we went to meet Nuon Jie
please tell us about this time that you went to Phnom Penh with female cadres to meet with Nuon Chea. Tell us what you remember about that.
Answer. I do not recall it well now because it happened between 1970 and 1975. I do not remember the month that I was there to see Nuon Chea, and I do not recall the date and the year exactly.
What was the reason that you went with this group of female cadres to meet Nuon Chea?
Answer. We went with a large group of cadres, hundreds of us. We were there to attend the political study sessions. And we were there to listen to the discussion about the arrangements of workers in the cooperatives, and we were instructed to arrange properly the workers so that we could achieve certain tons of rice per year. I was mentioning about the cadres, female cadres who were there with me and listened to the instruction at that time.
Thank you, Madam Witness. I may come back to this later. I was going to turn to another subject now, Mr. President. Do you wish me to continue, or this is the time for our morning break?
President, thank you. It is now the convenient time for a short break, and the chamber will take short break from now until 10:30. Court officers, please assist the witness during the break time, and please invite this witness and TPO staff back to the courtroom at 10:30. The court is now in recess.